So there was a scientist called Oersted. Now he was the one who found that magnetic field is established around the current carrying conductor. So he established that a magnetic field is established around a current carrying conductor. The thing is, current should be flowing in that. It's not just a conductor, there should be a current flowing in that conductor. So this was actually found out or given by or established by the scientist called Oersted. Now this magnetic field exists as long as there is current in the wire. The direction of magnetic field was found to be changed when direction of current is reversed. So this magnetic field's direction reversed when direction of current was reversed. So that means a moving charge. What is a current? Current is nothing but a moving charge. So a moving charge produces magnetic as well as electric field, right? So we have studied till now in the 3 chapters before this that if there is a charge, there is an electric field associated with it. Now we are saying that due to current, there is a magnetic field also associated with it. So that means current is nothing but electric charge. That means this electric charge, when it moves, it produces both magnetic as well as electric field, right? So that's what is the crux or summary for this, is that if there is a moving charge, there will be a magnetic field plus an electric field. Magnetic field from now onwards will represent as B. So B stands for magnetic field, E stands for electric field. And if there is a stationary charge, so a stationary charge will create only electric field. So this is the difference between moving charge and stationary charge, the behavior of moving charge and stationary charge. Next in this chapter, our topic is Biot-Savart's law. Right, so what is this? So this law is used to determine the magnetic field. So we have already studied there is a magnetic field, but how much or what is the strength of the magnetic field and all. To determine that magnetic field at any point due to a current carrying conductor, this law is used. So the use of this law is to find or determine the magnetic field at any point due to a moving charge or current carrying conductor. Because we have already studied current, so let's focus on that. That is current carrying conductor. As it is given, there the current should be flowing in that conductor. Now this law is, although for this law is defined for very small elements or infinitesimally small conductors. Yet we can use it for long conductors as well. Now, in order to understand this law, we need to understand the term current element. So there is something called current element. It is just like the small uh, changes or quantities which we have seen earlier, like area element, length element. Same way, this is current element. So it is the product of current and length of a very small segment of current carrying wire. So suppose this is a current carrying wire, right? So in this current carrying wire, we choose a very small segment. Say this is our segment from A to D, which is very small. This is, you can think about this as magnified view of this, but it is very small. And this is the direction of flow of current. In this conductor, this is the direction of flow of current, right? Now of this, suppose the length of this AB segment is DL. Length of this segment is DL, right? Okay. Now it is, as I said, the current element. Current element is nothing but product of current and length. Product of current and length of the conductor, very small part of that current carrying wire. So the current element is taken as a vector quantity, and its direction, because out of this, if you think the direction, we have already seen that current is a scalar quantity, so current cannot have a direction. So the only direction will be here of this DL, right? So this DL has a direction if there is a direction. So we say that the current element in this example, say AB, is equals to I into DL, and DL is the vector. So the figure which we see here is this AB is the segment in this long current carrying conductor, and of that segment, whatever is the length, that is DL into the current which is flowing through that conductor or small part or segment of that conductor, that is called the current element. Now suppose this is that current carrying conductor. So we have understood what is current element, and this is the current element of length DL, and there is a current flowing in this direction, that is from down to up, that is current I. And as we said, the Biot-Savart's law, it is used to find out magnetic field at a point due to this conductor. So suppose this is our point P. This is the point P where we have to find out the current, not current, the magnetic field, right? So its position from this DL should be given. So suppose this is the position from the DL, that is given by R, right? So this is the distance, and it is given by position vector R. Now there is a segment of current carrying wire in this diagram, and P is the point where magnetic field is to be calculated. IDL is the current element, and R is the distance of the point P with respect to the current element IDL. Now, according to this law, Biot-Savart's law, the magnetic field at any point, now we come to this law. So as per this law, the magnetic field, the very small magnetic field which will be due to this very small current element, will be given by, say, dB. So B stands for magnetic field. Let us concentrate only on the magnitude first. So this dB in this case is given by the expression this is equals to k I dl sine theta divided by r square, right? So if you see this properly, it is almost similar to the in the electrostatics chapter, the first law, that is Coulomb's law. There electric field was equals to k some constant into q1 q2 divided by r square. So here also it is almost similar, right? K is similar, not same but similar. R square, this also follows 1 by r square, that is inverse r square law. The electric field also follows inverse square law, and only difference is this ideal sine theta, which is little different from the one which we have already seen earlier, where we used to have just q1 into q2. Instead of that, we have ideal sine theta. Now if you see this I into dl sine theta, this is the only thing which we have to now decode, that what exactly is this. So before that, say this is the very small amount of magnetic field, that is dB. So this implies that the total magnetic field due to this entire current, entire conductor. So conductor is this green wire which you are seeing here, that is the entire conductor. But right now we applied Biot-Savart's law only on this particular segment, which is here shown in blue. And there will be many such blue sections here. So we just have to keep on adding such segments, or basically adding magnetic field due to such small segments. And when you have to do that, the tool which we use from mathematics is called integration. So the total magnetic field will be integration of these small magnetic fields. Now what is this small magnetic fields? So this k is actually mu naught by 4 pi. So we'll come to that as well. So write it like mu naught divided by 4 pi. That is the first thing. I, which is current, that is also constant. So that means I can take that I outside as well. So inside, what do we have is dl sine theta divided by r square. Okay. The question is, why did I take this ideal sine theta? So the answer for that is, this is the Biot-Savart's law. This is law which he obviously observed based on practical observations. So from there, we got this information. Just like we have that Kirchhoff's law, sorry, not Kirchhoff's, the Coulomb's law, that the small amount of electric field will be equals to K, that is mu naught, what was K? K was 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught into Q1, Q2 divided by R square. So there again, it was based on practical observations. So same thing here also, we are doing the same, right? So now we have this B is equal to the integration of dB, that is, and this K, as I said, this K is equal to this. So we have substituted that, that is mu naught divided by 4 pi. We'll come to that explanation of that, what is mu naught and what all other things are there. Then we have inside only dl sine theta divided by r square, right? So now this is the law to find the total magnetic field. So total magnetic field is this, or this is the procedure to find total magnetic field due to a conductor, current carrying conductor. Now coming to the units. So there are two systems, we all know that, CGS, that is centimeter gram and second. In that system, this K value is equals to 1, and in SI system, standard units, we have this K is equals to mu naught by 4 pi. So as per this case, our dV, that is the small magnetic field, will be is equals to, as this is the formula, right? So K, instead of K, I'll write 1 and just ideal sine theta divided by r square. Ideal sine theta divided by r square. And the unit is, in this system, it is called Gauss. This is the unit. And in this SI system, the same dB will be equals to, as you can see, K here is mu naught by 4 pi. So this will be mu naught divided by 4 pi into ideal sine theta divided by r square, and the unit here is called Tesla. So these are the difference between the units. Now coming to the special parts or special terms or symbols which we have seen here. First one is mu naught. So what is mu naught? Mu naught is
So
called,
what is a unit in the SI system?
what is the,
Unit in the SI system.
it's Tesla.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Okay. So moving to the next, that is in the same thing, different terms or symbols which we have seen. First one is mu naught. Mu naught is called absolute permeability. And whenever you are studying magnetic effect, right, and even till alternating current and all, you should be ready to revise the things which you have already studied. For example, here mu naught is called absolute permeability of air or vacuum. Now, at the same time, you should be able to recall that there was something epsilon naught, which was called permittivity. So this is permittivity and this is permeability. This is absolute permeability of the air or vacuum. Now it has a value, and that value is equals to, 4 pi into 10 to the power minus 7. 4 pi into 10 to the power minus 7. This is the value. Now, if this is the value, what is the unit? Now, unit we haven't yet seen that what will be unit for mu naught. Right now, I'll just write different units of mu naught here, and later we will discuss how these units come into picture. So this unit 4 pi into 10 to the power minus 7, this is actually Weber per ampere meter. So I think the two new things here are this, which is called Weber, and AMP, which is actually ampere. So these are the two new units, and these together make the value of mu naught. Now there are some other units of this as well. So let's see those other units. The other units are Henry per meter. These are units of mu naught itself, right? Or Newton per ampere square, or Tesla meter per ampere square. So all are the units of the same, that is absolute permeability. So this name you don't have to confuse. In magnetism, or in case of magnets, it is permeability, and in case of Electrostatics, it was permittivity. Both are different. Here the value is 4 pi into 10 to the power minus 7. There the value was 1 by 4 pi e, that is 9 into 10 to the power 9. So this is the difference between these two, that is Biot-Savart's law and the application and the value of mu naught or absolute permeability. So now even this Biot-Savart's law can be represented in different forms, which we'll see, that is in vector form and in other forms. So if we have to represent B in form of vector, then what all changes we are going to do. So in vector form, when we write, normally if you write dB, that is equals to mu naught by 4 pi I dl sine theta, mu naught by 4 pi I dl sine theta divided by r square. Same thing or same concept we are going to use here. Now I is a scalar quantity, dl is vector, sine theta is okay, but it cannot be represented in any cross product or dot product at this moment if it is like this. So what we do is we still keep I dl and then in the denominator we have r square, right? Okay, now what do we want? We want that this should be represented in some cross product or for cross product term. So if I multiply it by r sine theta, sine theta was already there, so I have multiplied it by r and r, so only these two are new. So just by adding these two new, basically only one symbol in both the sides, which is numerator and denominator, we have made it look like a cross product. So cross product of two vectors a and b is written as ab sine theta. So now you see this is dl into r sine theta. So this is actually mu naught by 4 pi into I into dl plus, sorry, not plus, dl into r so mu naught by 4 pi I dl, and sine theta is involved in that because now this is a cross product. So because it is a cross product, sine theta is already there. Now this divided by r cube, right? So this is in the vector form, and direction of dB is perpendicular to both dl and r. Direction of dB perpendicular to both or just perpendicular to both. Here in the cross product we have dl and r, so it will be perpendicular to both dl and r. That is the direction of dB, right? And this is the magnitude of dB, that is the magnetic field. This is the vector form. Okay, next in the form of current density. So the same dB can also be written in terms of current density. So till here there is no doubt, mu naught by 4 pi. Okay, now what do we have? We have current density. We want to represent in form of current density. Current is actually I by A. Current density is I by A. And this, in this case, it will be written as J cross product R divided by R cube into dV. Now there are few important things here. This J is current density. Then we have dV. This is volume of element. So this is how current density and magnetic fields are related. So this J vector, right? This J vector is anyways equals to, or just J is equals to I by A. So IDL divided by A dl. That means this is I dl, and A into dl is dV. So J can be written as I dl divided by dV. And now that is how this dV got its form. So dV is equals to mu naught by 4 pi I dl sine theta divided by r square. So we said, okay, IDL is already there. If I divide it by dV and I multiply it by dV, that is volume, then that is fine. Now this IDL by dV, as you know, this is actually R J. So this I will rewrite as mu naught by 4 pi J and there is R here. So just multiply it by R and R. So J, again, J is a vector. R is also a vector, this R, and there is sine theta. So this one is J cross R right? So that is in the form of current density. Next is the same law in terms of charge and its velocity. Charge and velocity form. So in that, this dV is equals to mu naught by 4 pi Q V into R, that is V cross R, divided by R cube. How? This IDL is equals to I can be Q by dt into dl. So this is equals to Q dl by dt, which is actually equals to QV. Right? So this is velocity. So that is the dB, that is Q into V into R divided by R cube, and based on that we have this IDL and Q dl by dt. solution. Right, so that's why there are a lot of similarities and differences between Biot-Savart's law and Coulomb's law. So that we will see in the next class. Let us now see what is the direction of the magnetic field which will be there. The generated magnetic field, what will be the direction of that magnetic field due to the current carrying conductor. So as you have seen here, this is called corkscrew rule or right hand screw rule. So according to this rule, if we imagine a right-handed screw placed along the current carrying line conductor be rotated such that the screw moves in the direction of flow of current, then the direction of rotation of thumb gives the direction of magnetic lines of forces. It's like this, you can understand like this. If there is a screw like this, and from the bottom, if I move it, if I rotate it in this direction, this will actually go up. Right? And if the direction is reversed, that means if you are directing in, if you are moving in this direction, then the direction will be reversed. So this we have to keep in mind that this is current and this is direction of magnetic field. Then we have right hand thumb rule. So in this case, if there is a current carrying conductor in which current is flowing in a straight line, if you see this in the both case, the current is flowing in the straight line. Then you curl your fingers, right, grabbing this wire, then such that your direction of thumb is the direction of current, then the direction of your four fingers, right, that is all your fingers, that will be direction of magnetic field, right? So in both these cases, magnetic field will be circular. In both these cases, it is circular in nature. So that is about right hand rule and corkscrew rule, or yeah, these two are the rules. Okay, so in our next class, we will see the application of Biot-Savart's law. That is, in order to find magnetic field, we use Biot-Savart's law to find a magnetic field due to a circular current carrying coil, or so these things we'll see in different cases of that also will be seen. We will see the other coils like Helmholtz coil, and some special cases also we will see. Then we will also see magnetic field due to a straight current carrying conductor. So the next class will be completely derivation based. So I'll ask you to go through those derivations, mainly the applications in your book. There will be topic called application of Biot-Savart's law. Go through that particular topic so that understanding will be easier when you come to the next class. Right? Any doubt? Okay,
No,
then.
sir.
So next class will be tomorrow, and I'll share the results of your yesterday's test by tomorrow itself.